How deep is that spillway? I'm asking each one of you. Who knows how deep that is? No, not many of you know. But the bottom line is it's like 4 feet. It was a stream that they put a little dam in, and it's small. It's smaller than this dais. And they did that so they could raise the lake up a little bit. And it still runs through that stream and runs along Shaker Pines Fire Department. This spillway, if you took the gate right out of it, it's not going to flood Enfield. It's not the mall. It's none of that area through there. It's going to make things a little wetter than what they are now, but it's not what you guys are setting this out to be. And
item H, the discussion resolution, ARPA funds to repair the Shaker Pines spillway. Be it resolved that the Town Council does hereby designate $75,000 from the ARPA funds toward the repair of the Shaker Pines spillway and to provide grant guidance to seek additional funds for the $151,000 proposed project. Date prepared October 3rd, 2022, prepared by the Town Manager's Office.
So moved.
Councilor Mangini.
Second. And
a second by Deputy Mayor Sakala. Councilor Hopkins and then Councilor Finger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
This is, I think, an area that's been known about for a long time. This, just to describe it to folks, is a spillway which allows the lake to release water such that flooding is controlled in that area of town. I think there's been a lot of discussion about doing something around this project for some years. For whatever reason, never acted upon. So that, that specter of maybe we have a significant flooding issue in town has been there for some time. I'm very happy that the council is considering this. I would move to make one small amendment in the highlight section that says additional funds of up to $75,000 may be allocated during the capital improvement project planning during the budget cycle in order to ensure the project is able to move forward. I think we should really express the intent that we want to use capital improvement dollars to make sure this project is completed. I understand there is some resources that the Town Manager's Office will be able to marshal to help the Shaker Pines Lake Association maybe find some grants to make up for that remaining $75,000. But I think we should communicate our intent is to fix this critical infrastructure in town. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I second that.
So, all right, so we have a motion to change the one word from may to will. And so, Councilor Hopkins, that's your motion, and second by Councilor Despard.
This may change my vote the way I was going to vote now, so we need to discuss the amendment.
Right.
So I'm not in favor of the amendment. I want to be able to help, but again, it should not come out of capital improvement and ARPA funds. There should be some, again, help, coordination, working together. The town shouldn't eat this entire money. They are a private association, and again, if you went to go to use the beach, you most likely wouldn't be allowed to use it. So again, that changes my vote here. I'm willing to be a partner here, but not to fund the whole thing.
Councilor Despard.
So for decades, this private organization has been providing a public service and maintaining this spillway for the town. So I feel like, that's something that, again, they didn't have to do that. So I absolutely support this. And I think that it's misguided not to.
Councilor Finger.
Well, first of all, they didn't maintain it for the town. It's not the town's property. All right. I've been in DPW for years. We've never, ever, ever have touched that spillway because it's not ours. Now, again, I agree with Council Ludwig, about supporting it, but, everybody wants ARPA money. Everybody wants ARPA money. You want to do the fire department, you want to do this, we want to do that, we want to try to help the small business out. We're just kind of like depleting everything that we have left. There's got to be other funds to help them to be partnership in with this. But don't say it's because, they're doing it for the town. They're doing it for the Lake Association. I have a lot of good friends up there and family. Again, you have to look at it logically and just say, listen, it's just like our dam, the town dam here right down the street from us. We had to maintain that. We had to rebuild that 3 or 4 times when I was down there. Now it's rebuilt when it rains, and if you don't open the gate, it floods out John Street area. And it floods out, behind there by Lynch Terrace. We've had a lot of issues with that down in that area, if anybody remembers that. That's why we have to open up that gate when it gets to a certain level, right where the bridge is. It just doesn't overfall, and that's it. They use that spillway to help maintain the level of the lakes, not just during storms, but during their process of when they want to do dredging or whatever the case may be. So it's not they were helping the town, we're helping them. But again, I don't think we should be. I agree with Councilor Lowe because ARPA funds, guys, you want everything to be ARPA funds, but you keep depleting it. Hang on, though, I'm not on the floor. Just step back a second and find other funding to help them out. Again, I'm behind all that association people. I really am. But we got to stop using ARPA funds for everything and everything. There's nothing left. It's done. It's gone. Especially for what he wants.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Councilor Despard, then we'll go to Councilor Santanella.
So I do agree in part with what you're saying, but they do maintain it for the lake. But if that goes or they don't maintain it, it affects a vast majority of the town. We would be having flooding all over the place. So that's why I think that this is completely necessary.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Santanella.
Just my comment. I mean, the point of having ARPA funds is to spend them to zero. That's why we were given them. And the options for us is to decide where we're going to spend them. So, that's what we're doing with our ARPA funds, and we've done a lot with it. It's really, it was eye-opening to see that something that was such a piece of critical infrastructure that impacted a lot of the rest of the town is in private hands. I've just never seen something so important being in private people's hands. Nonetheless, the implications, as I understand it from the attachments here, if this spillway goes and there's downstream flooding, property damage, any of that, we are noticed that there is a problem here, and the town is on the hook for any of that, for failing not to do anything about this. And so when we're talking about, is that correct? And through the mayor to the town attorney, is that correct? Is my understanding of that correct?
Yeah, I want to be careful. I don't want to give you a spot legal opinion on the fly without having reviewed all the topographical maps and everything. Your inclination is probably correct.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking at $150,000 to prevent potentially millions of dollars of property damage if this thing does go. I'm hoping that there's grant money that's available that will cover the whole thing and not need us to use ARPA funds or CIP money. But I think we need to make the commitment that we're going to fix it. We can't. It doesn't make sense to allow something like this to just go unaddressed anymore. And it's been raised before. It's just, and we have an opportunity not to put the full burden on people, on taxpayers, to use ARPA funds to do that. So I am going to support this. I think this is a really great use. And I do believe that we should look at the other options so that we minimize and work really hard to minimize any of the impact that this is going to have on our taxpayers. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Mangini?
Thank you.
And then I'm after that.
I will be supporting this resolution. This issue has been going on for a long time before all of you have been on the council, all of you. And I'm glad to see that it's finally come to surface where we are going to actually vote on this and hopefully, make some progress in addressing the issue. And this project qualifies for ARPA more than probably some of the other projects that we've got. So, and to Councilman Santanella's point, if there is a serious situation, it will adversely affect the town, not just the lake area. So it's imperative that we move forward on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to make a couple of comments in regard to this. This is an issue that has been brought up for many years. It's been ignored for many years. I think we've made a commitment not to ignore this particular issue. And yes, it's privately owned, but the implications that have been previously stated, taking a look at the presentation and the paperwork that we received, this affects the whole town. This goes from the lake all the way down to the Connecticut River. Heaven forbid something happens. The implications is it cost us far more money than $150,000 or $151,000. We're allocating $75,000 of ARPA funds that we have, and it follows the guidelines to a T. We're going to be executing and looking for grants. This is just a one word to state, to make a commitment that if we have to use these funds out of CIP, we will use them to help fund this project. I am in total favor, and I'll let Councilor Nelson state what he has to state, but we will be voting on the motion, and then we're going to be moving forward.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure, and the town clerk can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're still on the amendment, right? And I'm not sure that the amendment actually changes the resolution.
Because
Correct.
That was my question.
Right. Okay.
So there is no
Question.
amendment.
So we will just be voting on the resolution, correct? Okay.
Well,
I think you have to deal with the amendment before you get to the main motion.
all right.
because amending the highlights does not amend the
Correct.
motion. The
That-
motion is, the bottom section.
That's what he's highlighting. That's what he's changing, the bottom section.
Under the highlights, the motion is to change may to will.
So just to clarify, my motion doesn't change, my motion that I raised doesn't change what the recommendation says. It's
Correct.
really just important symbolic, meaning the town, is
But it's
going.
not part of the resolution.
That's true, that's true.
Correct.
So maybe I should clarify my motion to say a motion to change the language of the highlight. It is maybe a tedious thing, but I think it is very important.
Councilor Pisner.
Okay,
Oh,
so
Councilor
I'm
Nelson,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Councilor Nelson, go ahead.
Okay, being a private entity, how much does Shaker Pines Lake Association have in their reserves? Has anybody looked into that? Are they physically responsible over there? Second, how deep is that spillway? I'm asking each one of you. Who knows how deep that is? No, not many of you know. But the bottom line is it's like 4 feet. It was a stream that they put a little dam in, and it's small. It's smaller than this dais. And they did that so they could raise the lake up a little bit. And it still runs through that stream and runs along Shaker Pines Fire Department. I went out there, I looked at it, I understand. Are we going to start taking on drainage problems for condos and PUDs? Because that's exactly what this is. We're taking public money to work on private property. And they're a lake association, and the number one thing that makes it a lake is their spillway. So they should have funds to maintain and update or upgrade this spillway if it needs it, and maybe not, write checks to people who are filing lawsuits against the town of Enfield. So I do have a problem with this, because if we approve this, we're setting precedents for all other projects in Enfield, condos and PUDs, where it comes to drainage issues, where detention ponds may flood or anything. This is so far upstream. If we take time and we tabled this and had the engineers come down with the maps and show us if this spillway, if you took the gate right out of it, it's not going to flood Enfield. It's not the mall. It's none of that area through there. It's going to make things a little wetter than what they are now, but it's not what you guys are setting this out to be. And I can't support this because we don't do work on private property. We just sat here and listened to the WPC director tell us about the serious problems we've got coming our way. And we're not talking 100,000. We're talking millions that the taxpayers are going to get a huge tax increase on to fund. And I have to agree with whoever said we're spending money like it's nothing. We have our own projects that are serious that need to be addressed. I cannot support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So, moving to the correction on the highlight. Do we have to make that correction and vote on that before we vote on the resolution?
I will have to defer to the town attorney for that because the resolution
Or
itself
just-
and the part that will go in the minutes is the be it resolved, the town council does hereby designate $75,000 from ARPA funds to repair the Shaker pipe. The highlights don't go into the permanent record of the town. So as to whether that is a legal amendment, I'm going to have to defer to the town attorney for that.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to shrug my shoulders and say you would, even if the amendment is approved, you're still only appropriating or designating $75,000 tonight. You're making a future promise, which I'm not sure isn't enforceable.
Sheila, roll call. Thank you.
Just so we're clear, this is on the amendment.
This is for the
amendment.
Correct.
Okay. Councillor Ungary.
Against.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
For.
Mayor Crisati.
4.
Councillor Despard.
4.
Councillor Finger.
Against.
Councillor Hopkins.
4.
Councillor Ludwig.
Against.
Councillor Mangini.
4.
Councillor Nelson.
Against.
Councillor Pisner.
Against.
And Councillor Santanella.
4.
Okay, so that's 6 in favor and 5 against, and no abstentions.
Okay, now we will be voting on the resolution.
We don't have a discussion on resolution, we have a discussion on amendment. Resolution discussion or no?
We're going to be doing a roll call. I think we've already had our discussion. Roll call, please.
Well, I had one more thing on the thing, but that's okay.
Councillor Ungary.
Against.
Deputy Mayor Sakala.
4.
Mayor Crisati.
4.
Councillor Despard.
4.
Councillor Finger.
For the property taxpayers of this town, against.
Councillor Hopkins.
4.
Councillor Ludwig.
Against.
Councillor Mangini.
4.
Councillor Nelson.
Against.
Councillor Pisner.
Against.
Councillor Santanella.
4.
That's 6 in favor, 5 against, and no abstentions.
Okay, thank you.
And I should, Mr. Mayor, I should also note.
Excuse me. In attendance is Leslie Cunningham, President of the Association, and so just wanted to recognize you. Okay, you're welcome.